I'm Don. It's late. I'm up. Hi. Let's watch this. Alright, we start out red text over black background. Christmassy font. I don't know what makes a font Christmassy. Ornaments and shit, I guess. I don't know. We start off with narration by Gene Shepard. This whole thing is based on the world of works of Gene Shepard. He started off as a radio guy, and then you know, like a personality. He was kind of a like a Spalding Gray or like a Garrison Keillor, and he just, you know, he told good stories with a nice crisp timbre to his voice. Interesting guy to listen to, right? So then eventually he put his stories into short stories, and those were later on published in Playboy. So those short stories that were in Playboy were eventually bound together and put into books. This story is from the book In God We Trust, All Others Must Pay Cash. And in basically it's just a bunch of chapters of different stories, and then they put it all together, and it, you know, you get a Christmas story. Most of this was filmed in Cleveland, and then a lot of it was filmed in Toronto, as is law by Movie World. It's amazing this movie's a classic the way it is, because it breaks film rules. Well, primarily the big one is voiceover narration. You know, film is supposed to be a show, not tell way of telling stories. I don't believe in that. I think that's an antiquated way of thinking, but that's how most filmmakers were taught, that anytime you have to have a voice come on and tell what's going on, you've failed as a filmmaker, right? So the movie itself, just having voiceover narration, you know, is supposed to be like losing points on a grading scale, but instead I find it to be, you know, obviously an A+ movie. It's definitely my, you know, favorite Christmas movies of all time. It's got a good nostalgia to it. It does what all good kid movies do, which is it realizes that kids live in a subculture different than the adults. You know, it's like a Lord of the Flies world. When the adults aren't around, the kids have their own world going on, right? And that's how this is. It's like the parents are around, they're like, oh, Mommy, I want Tinker Toys for Christmas, or whatever. And then, you know, when the kids leave, they're like, man, your old man's full of it. He's just, you listen, smart ass. You know, it's a totally different world when the adults aren't around. So it captures both what it's like to be a kid, and then it captures adults' nostalgia of what it's like to be a kid. That's part of the reason why this is taking place in the 40s, even though it came out in the 1980s. I remember seeing it in the theater, and Ralphie was about my age, and obviously I related to him. But because it took place in the era where my dad was his age, it was easy to also connect to him. So that's part of what Christmas is about, the family and all that. That's one of the many reasons I love this movie. It figured out what The Sandlot and Stand By Me and you know, a bunch of other movies that are popping up that I can't think of, where they understood that you take a story and you show it maybe 30 years ago, and it helps, you know, connect many generations to what's being told. Here's the first appearance of the father, played by Darren McGavin. If you ever wanted to do television in your life, you can't. It's all been done by Darren McGavin. There's none left. Sorry. Like, right now, a bunch of things are popping up that Darren McGavin's been in, and the entire time I'm talking, they'll keep popping up, because he's been in everything. Like, when I was going through his TV resume, I'm like, this is a who's who of awesome. Darren McGavin, golf clap, sir, golf clap. Okay, Darren McGavin, enough. McGavin's biggest role that most people know of, immediately when I see him, I think of him. He's awesome he doesn't do much movie stuff. It's mostly the television, like I said. He's cool in The Natural, and then he's also Billy Madison's dad. So, but his biggest role was in TV, where he did TV movies, which are basically movies, especially now the way home media works. So he was Kolchak, the Night Stalker, which was like a predecessor to the X-Files. He was this detective a reporter who worked as a detective, and he would go out and hunt down all these weird supernatural cases, vampires and whatever, right? He was on the hunt of a serial killer, and he stumbled onto a vampire, and that led into a whole world of supernatural Bigfootery and spaceships and sea monsters and what have you. One time Howard Hawks said the definition of a great movie is 3 great scenes, no bad ones, right? So this movie delivers that in boatloads. It's like, well, how can you rate this so high? It's like, because it's never ending with the hits, from I can't put my arms down, which is going on right now, all the way through to You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, to, the leg lamp, to the bunny outfit, to just over and over and over. The little kid in this is Peter Billingsley. I remember him first when I was little. He was on a show called Real People, which was like the internet, if the internet was a TV show in 1980, whatever. He was the kid reporter. They had the couple of white guys, black guy, Byron Allen. And he looked exactly the same then as he does now. So Kolchak, get on it. But then Peter Billingsley was the adorable kid correspondent. And, so basically he would, show up and be adorable and have a big brain. And I think he used to do the same shtick on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Like, they would bring him out and Peter Billingsley would be smart and Johnny Carson would just make the face at like, oh, look at this brainiac child. He was like an early version of Jonathan Lipnicki, like from Jerry Maguire. As soon as I saw him, I was like, I've seen this before. The prophecy has been foretold. Well, anyways, Billingsley, pretty much this ruined his career. After this, he does like Dirt Bike Kid. I don't know what career he had, but he did Dirt Bike Kid, and that's kind of have some Mystery Science Theater type flick. It's laughable at the best part, in the best kind of way. But then later on, instead of falling into drugs like most Hollywood teen stars do, he falls in with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau, which pretty much the same thing, I guess. And he shows up in all their stuff. Like, he's the co-producer on Made. He's a producer on Favreau's Table for Five show, Party for Five, Dinner for Five, something for Five. He's like directs Couples Retreat. He's like executive co-producer, one of the producers on Four Christmases, The Breakup. Like, he just shows up over and over and over. So clearly that's his new source of income, is hanging out with Vince Vaughn and them, which is good. I mean, he ended up in like Iron Man from it, and I think that led to him being in Spider-Man: Far From Home. He also turns up in Elf, which is cool. And he also, like I said, turns up in Four Christmases. So his Christmas lineage is, his timeline is impeccable. Oh, chef's kiss. Another one of the Howard Hawks' great scenes, the I double, triple dog dare you flagpole tongue thing. Which, since we're here, we're going to have to get into it. The kid with the tongue stuck to the pole is Scott Schwartz. He's in The Toy with Jackie Gleason and Richard Pryor, which at the time was mildly kind of adorable and interesting and cute. It's like, I want to hang out with Richard Pryor all day. This is fun. And it's kind of like a social commentary on, black people just being toys for white people's amusement and stuff. It's a good movie. But now, in the hindsight of many years later, it just feels like Jackie Gleason's old crusty ass owning Richard Pryor. Like, yeah, kind of hard. So, basically, Lil Massa bosses Richard Pryor around. So later on, after this, he does like Kidco and a few other things, whatever, not important. He ends up in porn. Scotty the Toy Schwartz. Like, his IMDb is hilarious. It's like legitimate, and then like, 6, gaping wide, 5, anal till my butt comes, grandpa, whatever. And then it goes back to like him trying to establish a legitimate career with like these B-movie, asylum level type films. So, you know, shout out to Scotty Schwartz, man. You got my thoughts and prayers. T's and P's, homie. T's and P's. The hell am I wishing the former porn star best of luck for? Dude, he should be wishing me all that. I like Gene Shepard's writing style, like where the narration that's supposedly not supposed to work but does, where he's just this, like, going to these little flights of fantasy where he's, you know, just like what's it called, that Walter Mitty, where his life is real life but it's also part daydream, and he's, you know, kind of off in the clouds thinking about stuff. Oh, all these people, they're just all cast so perfect. Scott Farkas, the second he shows up, it's like he somehow embodies everybody's bully. Although, one time I made a Scott Farkas joke on Twitter, and Scott Farkas followed me after that. So I'm like, what's up with Scott Farkas? And I looked him up, and he's apparently a normal dude, although he looks a lot like infamous ghost hunter Zach Baggins. Regardless, he apparently donates any residuals of this movie to his mother. So I'm like, oh, that's a nice man there, Scott Farkas. You're a good guy, and you apparently maintain your social media presence, which in this day and age is a lot of work. So, you know, Scott Farkas grew up to be a good kid, everybody. It's okay. Oh, the little toady, too. Just that crew, it brings back so... Ugh. It's like part nostalgia, part like Vietnam flashback. Like, oh yeah, oh, the little guy that goes with the big guy. Ooh, go away. This movie looks fantastic. It's got a great color palette. It's really smart how things are shot drab, sort of depressing. So it looks like the 40s, but then it's also bright because Christmas is going to have so many bright lights and all this, right? So it's very smart. And then when they go outside, the blinding, it does a brilliant job of showing like how the gloomy winter is sort of dark and gray, and things are, you know, brown and, you know, plaid and dark, or just blah. And then all of a sudden, just the bright lights of winter comes banging off the snow, and it blinds you and gives you a headache. The film shows that when they're outside, it always, you know, jumps out at me. Well, anyways, the director, Bob Clark. Apparently he got the job, as best as I can tell, because of his past experience. He's the director of the original Black Christmas, the slasher movie, the one that predates Halloween, the one that most people know actually invented the horror-themed slasher movie, you know, whatever, that follows for the next 20 years of filmmaking. But Margot Kidder, look her up. So Black Christmas. And then he also did Porky's. You know, so obviously you're going to do the teenage slasher movie, and you're going to do the teenage sex romp. So what we're going to need you to do is the family Christmas movie. And then he also did, like, From the Hip with Judd Nelson, which is, I think, is underrated. It's totally just an extended version of Law and Order, but it's, like, fun. It's way over dramatic. It's soap opera-ish in the best sort of way. I feel bad. The mom in this, Melissa Dillon. Melinda Rivers. Melissa Dillon. I feel bad for the mom in this, Melinda Dillon. I don't really know her from much else. She's the mom in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. She's the one that loses her kid. And then her other famous role that I know her from is she's the mom in Harry and Henderson's. Sorry, they're delivering the Fragile crate, one of the other 850 famous scenes from this movie. It's a major reward. This whole Fragile thing, it's classic too. I remember watching this for the first time when I was a kid and wondering, what is in there? And they build this suspense, and then he takes out a leg? I'm like, what the fuck? Why is there a leg in there? And then everybody's trying to figure out, like, is it a statue? I don't know. And then they reach in there and they're like, you know what it is? It's a lamp! It's like, what the hell? So the leg lamp thing is just, it shows the writing that I really enjoy so much in this movie. The whole leg lamp subplot is essentially just, you know, pretty much the plot of a sitcom. 22 minutes plus 5 commercials, right? So it's like, to the mom, she hates this thing because it's this tacky symbol. I mean, at best it would go in like a sleazy nightclub, you know. At worst, it's like in some bachelor's apartment, like, hey, I like ladies. Look, this lamp tells you how much I like ladies. But, you know, it's never supposed to be in the front window of a, you know, family of four, you know, especially like at Christmas time. So her viewpoint is very easy to see, right? Like, it's just, yeah, you probably should find someplace else for the leg lamp. I never even noticed until I got older. The leg lamp has like half an ass cheek on it. But to the father, it's totally something else. It's a trophy. It's a symbol of accomplishment. I pulled away from the pack. I separated myself from everybody else in some way. Look at me, I'm special. And it's this light up, gaudy, everyone can see it thing, and that's what he wants, is everyone to see it like, look, I did a thing. So her destroying it is kind of destroying his accomplishment, but at the same time, you know, he didn't really accomplish anything. He won it because of the Lone Ranger's horse's nephew, Lone Ranger's nephew's horse, Victor, which was an answer she gave him. Oh, it's a major award. When he's outside, the neighbor comes over and says, "What's in that window?" And he says, "It's a major award." And like, it's a major award. And all these people start gathering around and looking. That neighbor is the director. That's Bob Clark. I personally like Darren McGavin as the dad, because in real life, he's probably only like 32. But when you're a child, like, it's like, yeah, my dad's in his 60s or some shit. I don't know. Darren McGavin has been in his 60s since he was 22 years old. That's part of his charm, is he can play either like rich old jerk or like a screw up, down on his luck, sad sack. Like he really fits. It's a big parking space you can put Darren McGavin in. You know, he's got it all covered. And he will hunt you down, a vampire. Oh, but I didn't say fudge. Throw that on the list of great scenes that everybody remembers. Speaking of Darren McGavin as the dad, when I was a kid, they used to have the Disney Channel on cable would have, it was a premium channel that you had to pay for, but sometimes they'd have a free weekend. So you would watch, you know, whatever you wanted to see, hope it was on there. So as, you know, a person up in the middle of the night, I wasn't much interested in whatever their Mickey Mouse stuff was, but, you know, at 3 in the morning they might show Tron or, you know, Something Wicked This Way Comes or some other cool property that they own that I would be interested in watching, right? So, you know, it was a Disney free weekend, and I flip it on, and I hear the Christmas Story voice. And I'm like, I know this guy's voice, and then I'm trying to think, even as a teenager watching it, kind of in the middle of the night, half out of it, I'm trying to decide, is it just this guy's a narrator who narrates many things, and then that's why he's doing this, or is this like a Christmas Story Part 2? So I'm watching, and, you know, they talk, it's all fit in the Christmas Story narrative, and then he refers to his brother Ralphie, and or Randy, and then his brother calls him Ralphie, and you figure out, like, oh, okay, this is it. And I think Ralphie is played by Jerry O'Connell, the fat kid from Stand By Me, as he's most affectionately known. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, well, why has no one ever talked about this before? And I never heard of it again, I never saw it again, but I always remembered this weird movie, Ollie Hopnoodle's Haven of Bliss. You know, only saw it once in my life, half asleep, in the middle of the night, confused, but that title, that's a banger right there. That's a club hit. So when I was doing the research for this, I'm like, I'm going to dig up Ollie Hopnoodle's Haven of Bliss and lay it on people and let them know. And I stumbled into the Gene Shepard universe. Like, forget Marvel, forget Stephen King. Gene Shepard has this movie, Ollie Hopnoodle, plus he has a movie called My Summer Story, I think it was called. It was released under a different name. But then there's also a bunch of stuff prior to this that Gene Shepard all wrote and narrates the whole thing just like this. Ralphie's been played by Matt Dillon. Right? Natch, whatever you're supposed to say. Also, prior to this, he did a bunch of stuff like PBS, did a couple 1-hour shorts, like 3 of them, I think, based on his stories, where he narrates, told in the same style, same, you know, tone, everything. Where, you know, there's a story of Ralphie falling in love in high school, So, I mean, if you're a big Christmas Story head, check out that, check out that whole thing. I'm sure I've popped them up on screen here for you to track down. Maybe if you really wanted to find these movies, you could look on like a, video serving website that might have them on there, that I found them on in like 2 seconds in the search bar. So, yeah, if you love them, check them out, man. What you don't want to check out is A Christmas Story 2. That is El Garbaggio. It was a total cash-in. They were trying to make money off Christmas Story. They bought, the name and the rights. The poster's a total rip-off. The story theme, instead of a bunny, they give a reindeer outfit. It just hits all the same beats, but it's just tired and lame. Yeah, no. No good, no good. Out of all of Ralphie's fantasies, probably my favorite is the soap one. It was soap poisoning. Oh no. And they all just gather around him, because that's how you imagine when you're a kid. It's like, oh, you did this and you're going to be sorry. It's like, no, they're not. No one's going to remember it but you, kid. Suck it up. Oh, school Christmas. School Christmas is the worst Christmas. It's like you look forward to it because it's not going to be schoolwork, basically. Ralphie with the big old fruit basket. Hey girl, got you a pineapple. Ralphie's trying to get the BB gun, and he bought her a fruit basket and gave her an aggressive wink. Ralph, buddy, get a hold of yourself. You put yourself out too much. Don't be a chump. Oh, the little Orphan Annie secret decoder pin. This is good stuff. Really, this is good stuff, because he builds all the suspense and tension in a scene where a kid is like doing a decoder ring to get an Ovaltine commercial. But just the knocking at the door, the music building, the little brother has to go, Randy has to go. Just all of it. Yeah, it's really smart. It's a lesson in filmmaking. It's an A+. There's a reason it's an A+. Learn.
Learn. Here's some hot news you can learn without a secret decoder ring. And that's where to find the cat's pajamas of Christmas Story collectibles anywhere on the whole wide world of internetings. The Christmas Story collection at the Channel 22 store on Amazon.com. Looking for leg lamp hockey pucks? They're here. Leg lamp bolo ties? Yep. Leg lamp party dress? You betcha. Books, baubles, and bunny suits to fit the whole family. Even the much dreamed of and begged for Red Ryder BB gun. Channel 22 is not responsible for any loss incurred by purchaser. Now, back to your moving picture film, for crying out loud.
For crying out loud is my favorite curse. Hey, buddy, get out of the way! For crying out loud. He gives her the best shutdown ever. He says, hey, not a finger! Not a finger. Not one. Not a finger. None of them. Oh, Flick gets his butt kicked this whole movie though. Like he gets his tongue stuck to the pole. He gets beat up later on. He shows up late to class with a black eye. Like just, oh, poor Flick. Yeah, he deserved to grow up and get all that tang. Good for him. He earned it. The part where Ralphie beats up the bully, I don't know if I like it or not. If there's ever a scene that I don't like in this movie, it's maybe that one, because it encourages kids like, well, just go try to fight that big giant cute who's beating you up. And in general, they'll usually just beat the hell out of you. I don't believe Randy could run all the way home, get mom, get a coat on, get all the way back. No way. This movie is all a lie. I like her momming. He's all crying after he's been in a fight, and she puts a warm rag on his neck and washes his face. And then when Randy's crying and convinced that the dad is going to kill Ralphie, she gives him some milk. The part where Ralphie goes to get in line to meet Santa, the guy that says, hey kid, where do you think you're going? The line doesn't, it ends here, it starts back there. That's Gene Shepard, the guy whose voice we've heard this whole time. I love how it's all, it goes to the fisheye lens, so everything looks just so big and crazy and surreal and all just in your face. The Santa Claus and the elves are so just, ugh. We've already had the weird experience with the kid who's like, I like Santa, I like the Wizard of Oz, I like the Tin Man. Ralphie's just like, yeah, great kid, whatever. This movie's segmented really well for the Christmas holiday. It shows, the build up to Christmas, the Christmas school party, the going and getting the tree, and then, you know, trying to get the tree up without burning down the house and getting the stars straight and everything. Then they go see Santa. Now it's time to go to bed because tomorrow's Christmas. I like the whole movie where they've been showing, you know, the secret behind the lens, behind the screen of what goes on with the kids' world, right? And then when the kids run upstairs to go to bed, they kind of cut the crap and they go to the parents' world for just a quick second. They're like, all right, let's get the presents. It's nice that, yeah, they're doing fan service to both sides. It's one of my favorite lines in the whole movie coming up. Wow, a Zeppelin! That's mine! The parents coming down on Christmas morning. Dad's like, oh shit. Socks. Socks are the worst present for a child ever. Now I'd be like, ooh, I got some nice socks for Christmas. Warm. And the dad was like, didn't I get a tie this year? A Zeppelin! See, the pink bunny suit is so iconic because, like a lot of the stuff in this, it just makes no sense. It's a lamp, but it's a leg lamp. Oh, okay. It's Christmas time. Why am I dressed in a giant pink bunny outfit? Think of how many people you've seen dressed as a bunny in your lifetime. A lot. And what happens is, he might be the most iconic. Out of all humans dressed as bunnies, Ralphie may be number one. I don't have a punchline joke to follow that up with. It's touching to me that the dad is the one that gets him in the end. Because at first he was going to go to mom, and then he tried to go through school, and then he tried to realize, oh, wait a minute, I'll go through Santa. And then when all those routes failed, it's like he never bothered to try dad. This big box shaped like a gun. Where's there a trigger hole in this present? And it's just... Well, it's touching because he's like, they're happy for him. Like they see that he got what he wanted and it makes them happy. It's the spirit of Christmas. Whenever I make a turkey for a holiday, I think about being a rabid turkicanis. Oh shit, he shot his eye out. Oh. Icicle. Of course, you have to deflect blame away from the gun. You got to put it on the icicle. Icicle has no legal counsel. They could totally take the blame. Randy, quit hugging that Zeppelin and get up. Most people think the plot of the movie is that the kid wants a BB gun. And that's not really the plot of the movie. The plot of the movie is it's about these people who love each other who just want to have a nice holiday. That's why it doesn't end when the kid gets the BB gun. It ends after their holiday has kind of come to complete. And then, yeah, with the parents together, in love, happy, enjoying the holiday, the kid happy with his gun.
Damn it.